Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm your host, Darrell Scott, and together we will dive into the lives and careers of the jazz legends who have left a rhythmic imprint on the world. Be prepared to reminisce on the highs and the lows of their musical journey and the trials that sculpted their timeless musical gems. We'll preserve the legacy of these extraordinary maestros and find inspiration in the melodies of their lives. Subscribe now and never miss a beat. Now, let's get to the show. Thank you, folks. This is Darrell Scott. You are watching and listening to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. Got a good one today, good guest. I think you're going to like this guy. Number one, I think, in just a short conversation that he and I have had, I think he should be doing commercials, and maybe we can team up and to do something. And again, the other thing, too, is he's in the Detroit area along with a bunch of other people that we've talked to. I'm really beginning to think there was really no Motown. There was just jazz in Detroit, or in the Detroit area. This is funny. My guest today is Mark Maxwell. Mark, how are you? What's going on?
Hey, I'm well, Darrell. I appreciate your patience with me while I was going through COVID.
Not a problem, sir.
I still have a little bit of remnant congestion, but I'm feeling much, much better. Thank you very much.
Good, not a problem. So first of all, with that being said, how you feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Back to
I'm
normal
69 years old now.
You're how old?
69.
You look
But,
maybe 40.
age is a mental construct.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I refuse to be old yet.
Okay, I'm right there with you because I'm not far behind you.
Yeah.
First thing is you have an incredible nickname, I think. This Dr. SaxLove.
Yeah.
How did you get that nickname?
Well, at some point in our marketing effort, probably 15 years ago or so, we decided to create a bunch of profiles on Spotify and other places like that. And one of the characters or profiles that we just decided upon was Dr. SaxLove. Because he sounds like a pretty cool guy, actually.
He does.
And I don't know, it just kind of stuck with me. All the other profiles disappeared over time, but Dr. SaxLove stuck.
Still there? All right. When did you start playing the saxophone?
I started playing I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I grew up in a musical household. My mother, as I said, was a singer. She sang in the Sweet Adelines and sang at church and whatnot. She, as a child, played the saxophone. My older sister played the saxophone. And when I became of age, I think 9-ish, 5th grade, there was a saxophone in the closet. And one day my mom pulled it out and kind of honked on it. And she said, "Honey, you want to play the sax?" And I'm going, "Sure, I'll try it."
Okay.
And that was in 1964.
Nice. So will there be a family CD out with the family and you and everybody else?
No. As it turns out, my younger brother is a very talented musician, plays the saxophone professionally to this day. But there will never be a family album, I don't think.
Oh, come on. We can see if we can do that. You have a statement that I was reading about. It says basically this philosophy, help uplift the spirit of humankind with the sweet and mellow sounds of the saxophone. First of all, it's very profound. How did you come up with that, and what does it mean to you?
Well, back in the early 90s, I discovered that I had a talent for composing music. And I had a friend who lived in Tucson, and he told me that he had some friends who twice a year sold their music at the Tucson Street Fair. And he kind of challenged me to record some of my compositions and do the same. So I did. I recorded a couple of really at that time cassettes of my original music and took them over to the Tucson Street Fair. And in a 3-day period, sold like, I don't know, $2,000 worth of cassettes.
Wow.
Yeah, we were all stunned at how much we sold and how people reacted.
Right.
And I ended up selling my music at street fairs for about 15 years.
Really?
And of course, this is almost every weekend all over the West Coast and Arizona and whatnot. Talked to many, many, many thousands of people. And I realized what it was about the music that I was recording that touched people's hearts. And it, kind of led me to the realization that my purpose here as a human on this planet was to help uplift people's spirit through, this kind of sweet, romantic, natural style that I have. So that's how that all came around. The actual phrase is uplifting the spirit of humankind through the judicious use of saxophones.
Wow. I like that. Don't get me wrong. If you hear it from outside of you, it's because I probably stole it. I'm gonna be honest.
You're welcome to use it, of course.
Not a problem. It is
because good artists borrow, great artists steal. So you can use that one too.
Okay, you're the great artist. I'm the good artist. But I'm telling you, I just do the talking. I will MC the show. No, I'm not playing an instrument. It's just not part of my DNA, so to speak. When you were growing up and you're playing and the family is playing, are there battles between you and your sister or you and your younger brother about who's the better player? Or
my sister was a little older than me, several years, and by the time I came around, she had quit playing. She never was interested. My younger brother was, I think, 4.5 years, 5 years younger than me. So I was just older enough that we, didn't play together as children. We did some work as adults. He's appeared on some of my recordings and that sort of thing. We've done some gigs together. But there was never any family music per se in the household, unfortunately.
I was thinking about moving in next to you and being your neighbor and seeing what's going on and how the party's going over there with the saxophone. So it won't be that. Let's just go to this. We're going to take a moment here. One of your songs is a cover version. Let me start with that. You do a lot. You've got cover versions, and I don't know if we want to call them cover versions or what we want to call them. But you've taken
I call it cover.
Okay, it's
cover
it's your interpretation of somebody else's song. We're going to play Ain't No Sunshine here in a minute, but before that, we got to Mercy, Mercy Me. What is your criteria for choosing someone else's song?
Well, in the case of Mercy, Mercy Me, I met my wife actually at the street fair. She was an artist as well. And when we came together, which was about 25 years ago now, of course, my whole life changed. And part of that change was that she and I started working together on, what music should we be producing for people? What music has an impact? And for her, she was a Detroit native and grew up in the 60s listening to Motown music. So together we have developed this long list of Motown tunes we want to do, or have done actually. And so back, I don't know, probably 6-7 years ago, I did an album called Ain't No Mountain High Enough. And one of the songs, and this was all Motown tunes, and one of the songs on that album is Mercy, Mercy Me.
Okay. What is the Motown influence on your music?
Well, first of all, there was a spirit, of course, in that music that was uplifting and undeniably positive. And there was also a very romantic undertone in all that music, most of it anyway. And of course, for my wife, it was all about growing up in the city and all that sort of stuff. So it was a very large selection of elements that came together to produce this specific music.
Mm-hmm. So one of the other songs that you do is called "Ain't No Sunshine." What we're going to do is take a listen to that here on the Jazz Flyte Podcast. That is "Ain't No Sunshine" by our guest today on the Jazz Flyte Podcast, Mark Maxwell. Mark, you said there's a story behind this song. Can you tell us the story?
It's a great story. It's a classic story, at least for us. We were recording a blues album out in California,
mm-hmm.
in the studio with musicians in the traditional manner.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the session, we were like, we need one more song. What should we do? And my wife was there, Roberta, and she said, you guys should do "Ain't No Sunshine" because that's an awesome tune.
Yeah, it is.
And it's really romantic and women would love it and you really should do it. So we did. And it was really kind of just off the cuff. We made it up as we were standing there, the arrangement. And it turns out that has been my best-selling track, or best-selling and streaming track of all the songs I recorded. And I probably recorded 300 or more songs.
So that creates two questions for me. Number one, in the video that we see, there's several pictures of saxophones. Why did you choose that collective group of saxophonists, or is it kind of a, kind of not I want to say hit or miss, but it's kind of like, okay, these guys come to mind. And I know Sanborn's in it, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but Kirk Whalen's in there, and there's a few other people in there.
Now, are you referring to the YouTube video?
Yes.
That I created with that song?
Yes.
Well, that was, I guess, kind of my tribute to the video part of it, my tribute to many of the saxophonists that have influenced me and who I love.
Mm-hmm. And one of those saxophonists is David Sanborn,
Indeed.
recently passed away. Tell us your feelings or what you can remember and recollect or reminisce about David Sanborn.
Well, I grew up in the pre-smooth jazz era.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the, I guess, late 60s, early 70s, he and Michael Brecker and Grover Washington, they were the sax players that were really popular.
Mm-hmm.
Pop popular. They were playing on pop tunes and
right.
popular beyond just the jazz world.
Mm-hmm. And
they had a style that was funky and cool and kind of nasty in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that stuff. I around here somewhere, I've got some David Sanborn solos that I transcribed. I like to think of those guys as smooth jazz before there was smooth jazz.
Yes.
Dave was smooth. He was funky and smooth.
Yeah. I always like that kind of, there seemed to be some kind of throatiness to his playing.
Very exciting.
Yeah, and it was the one thing I remember, I went and saw him in concert at this it was called the Akron Civic Center. And I had gotten to know him and I loved the music and everything. So I said, I'm going to do something different. I went and sat in the very last row of the theater. I mean, really, I do this and the walls right there. And I just kind of closed my eyes and I listened to the whole show. I am not the person that goes to a concert to see anybody. Don't get me wrong. I want to hear the music. And I just sat back and just listened. And it was refreshing. It was relaxing. yet and still invigorating on certain tunes and things like that. So afterwards, I see him. Where were you? Dude, I was all the way in the back row. What's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with me. I just wanted to listen to you. That's all I did. I just wanted to hear the music and hear the band and everything. And Hiram Bullock's in the band, Marcus Miller's in the band.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
goes,
A great band.
that's kind of neat, Darrell. I go, well, a lot of people come here to see you. I've seen you. I want to. There are times when I, close the doors here at home and I just put on music. Then, of course, the floor is a mess because this song has made me think of this song, which has made me think of this song. Don't worry, you're next on the list for me to do that. But it's an amazing thing sometimes, I think, to sit there and this place was acoustically sound. It sounded wonderful.
Yeah.
To just listen
Yeah.
to what you guys do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if enough people tell you that. I don't need all the conversation and all the buzz around me. I came here to hear you, and that's what I want to do. I
Yeah.
just want to listen. And there are times when, maybe you hear a bad note and then I wonder how you recover. What's the next note after that? And it's like, well, if you weren't paying attention, you missed it. And nobody else is going to know. But it was just like I said, it was invigorating yet relaxful, and it was probably the one of the greatest concerts ever in my life. But don't get me wrong, Phil Woods uh, at the Cool Jazz Festival was by far my best one.
Hey, now
Uh,
there's a name that you really don't hear a lot.
yeah, yeah,
I was a huge Phil Woods fan when I was
yeah.
a kid.
It was. It's one of those things I think, and you can probably relate to this. If you were in this music, I was a music director at a radio station. So I'm getting everything, everything, everything. And the one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to listen to every track. Don't get me wrong, how long ago it was, every track on the album. And that's what I did. My weekends were, okay, I got this new song in by him, I got this new album by so and so, and I'd listen to it and I'd make notes. I got
Sounds like a
CDs.
dream job, Darrell.
Yeah, I got CDs and albums here. I go back and go, what does this mean? I don't know what I wrote. And I play it and I go and listen to it and everything. And it was just there's so many songs because the radio station I was at and then the radio show I did later on, it was more album cuts. So you could play whatever.
Yeah.
And it was always like, well, where'd you get that from? Or who did this and who did that? And I'm like, you you you, you need to listen to all of this because
Mm.
all of this is so good. Let's go back to your history. Why did you choose? Was the saxophone chosen because everybody in the house was doing it, or was there some reason you chose it?
No, I prefer to think of it as the sax chose me.
Okay.
I mean, it was in the family and in the closet, and
Hmm.
it's I don't know. I play a lot of instruments, and
What
my
else do
actually my first instrument was the guitar.
Hmm.
And my parents for some reason let me have a drum set,
Hmm.
and but for some reason the saxophone is the thing that
Yeah. Why did it stick?
strongest.
Why did you eliminate everything else and just go to the saxophone?
Why did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I still play all those
I
instruments.
mean, yeah. You still do?
Uh-huh.
So here's the thing. Another question that pops into my
Looking
head.
around because I've got instruments all over the place.
Yes. Why? And you're a composer, so you write a song, but I've heard many stories where you start out playing it on the piano and then you add the other instruments in. What? Simple question. Why do you do that? Why does it go to piano? Why can't you do saxophone first, or do you need that piano backing you to create everything else?
Well, even if you, and this happens to me a lot, I'll be driving around or something and I'll just hear a melody and all of a sudden there's a song in my head. But at some point you've got to sit down and work out the chords,
Hmm.
the harmonic structure of the song.
Hmm.
I think that's why you always end up on the piano,
I don't see the
at least
piano
for
in
me.
there. I don't see a piano in your room, but that's okay.
Well,
Um,
it's
yeah, I was gonna say it's in front of you.
right here on my desk. You just can't see it.
Um, if you had to describe your playing style, what would it be?
think my playing style in its essence is I guess soothing and romantic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of the thing that people I have learned, like at the street fair. I learned that that's what people respond to the strongest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd stand there all day and play the saxophone as people walked by, and there was just a certain kind of sensual, sensitive, romantic feeling that would just draw people over like a magnet.
So since this emotion is what you're playing with, is it, I'm not sure if easier is the right word. Is it easier to play in front of people as opposed to being in the studio? And the studio obviously has changed now when it used to be you and all your fellow musicians. Now sometimes it's just you and your computer. What do you get more joy in?
Well, I take joy in both recording and performing, although I
Mm-hmm.
don't really perform much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But because it comes naturally to me,
Mm-hmm.
the style of playing,
Mm-hmm.
um, I have no trouble finding it when I record here in the studio. And I take great joy in when I'm recording, finding that specific spot, this specific emotional spot. Sometimes it takes me a while, but
Mm-hmm.
for each song, there's a specific emotional spot that is the center of that song. And it's part of the great joy for me in recording is finding that spot
Okay. All right.
and staying.
We're gonna take a moment here and listen to a song which I think reflects your personality. This
Okay,
is Mr. Cool on the
cool.
Jazz Flyte Podcast. That is Mr. Cool from our guest today on the Jazz Flyte Podcast, Mark Maxwell. Mark, you we need to get more
Thanks
of
for
you.
having me, Darrell. I appreciate it.
Dude, I appreciate it. I am glad we worked out some logistical things and some other things, and this is great. This is an opportunity too, I think, to get to know people because sometimes, and that's the other thing. Sometimes you hear music, you listen to music, and you form an opinion. I want people to know who you are and see who you are, and if there's any um, comments or feelings or emotions that you wish to convey to the people, that's what I'm all about. Um,
Nice.
what keeps you going with all of this? I- is it just the joy you get in playing the music?
That's a really good question. Like I mentioned earlier, maybe that was before we were on the air, but I'm almost 70 and it'd be easy to just stop doing it.
Well,
Stop.
that would be the other question. Yeah, how long are you going to do this?
I don't know. It's a good question. But there's first of all, I interpret that this is my purpose
Hmm.
in life. And I feel on some level a responsibility to push out energy that's uplifting
Hmm.
and healing.
Hmm.
So there's that. There's the responsibility part of it. But also there's a certain joy in it that is self-fulfilling, I often think to myself, like that song, Mr. Cool,
Hmm.
that's a song I did basically for me because
Hmm.
I love that feeling and I love playing in that style. Uh, I hope people like it, but I did it because it felt good.
Do you have other songs like that? Are there in the composition and producing process? Are there times when you just go, I really like this, I really like what I'm doing, and you want to expand, Or is there occasions when you're like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure your rhythm of putting stuff out would be totally different than mine, but do you put that pressure on yourself to, I have to maintain this level and I can't necessarily maintain it. I got to get a little better.
I do sometimes, although I give myself a lot of leeway.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing it for so long that I recognize that if I just do it properly, it's
Yes.
going to have a certain level of quality.
Mm-hmm.
Although I must say that I continually strive to increase the proficiency of my craft. I don't really have a lot of outboard gear. I use all uh, software.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm all the time trying to learn more about the software that I use and how to use it more efficiently and to make the music sound better.
Mm-hmm. It is. You do an excellent job. I'm glad my good friend Gerald Gregory uh, found you and told me all about you. So what's next? What else you got going on?
Well, got more songs. I've got a long list of Motown tunes that
Mm-hmm.
Roberta wants me to record, and I'm in the process of doing a version of "Higher Love," the Stevie Winwood
Stevie
song.
Wonder. Okay.
I've got a whole list of original ideas that I'd like to flesh out and record.
How many? This is always my question for musicians who have played a long time. So if I came over and went to the drawer where you have songs that you necessarily have not recorded, how many would I find in there? 1,000?
Not quite that many, but certainly dozens.
That's the thing that always gets me is, I talk to people like yourself, and it's like, yeah, I got this, but I got all these songs in the drawer. At what point do you decide to go back? I'm just going to go into the drawer and I'm going to pull this one out and I'm going to record
Yeah,
this, or does everything become new? And what makes a determination to go from I'm going to record this to I'm going to put this in the drawer?
those are all really good questions, and I don't think there's any one answer for that. Some of it is I don't know what's the phrase, artistic spontaneity, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, because
Mm-hmm.
at some point as an artist you have to follow your heart.
Right.
So little intuitions and nudges and things like that become significant. I was looking in my iPhone at my voice memos, and there was one in there called Mr. Boom Boom, and I turned it on, and it was just this little song that had come to me while I was driving around, and I thought, man, that's a cool groove. I'm gonna work that out into a tune. So one of these days, soon,
Okay. I'm
hopefully,
going to look for that.
you'll hear Mr. Boom Boom.
Do you find that when the creativity hits you, the greatest invention now is the cell phone?
Well, for capturing ideas, it's
Right.
completely convenient and easy. So yeah, it's a great tool. And for listening to one of the things I like to do as I record is take the latest version of a song,
Mm-hmm.
put it on my iPhone, and just listen to it while I drive around and do errands and that sort of thing. So it's a very convenient tool for that too.
Okay, just to let you know, I'm coming up there and stealing your phone because I want to know what's on it. Um, you just never know. In all your years that you've played, I'm sure that there are other people that you listen to. Who are some of those people?
Well, I started off listening to I guess Paul Desmond was my first real
Mm-hmm.
influence. I listened to a lot of Phil Woods when I was much younger.
Mm-hmm.
I sat at his feet and listened to him at the Lighthouse in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
But I also loved Grover Washington Jr., of course, David Sanborn and Michael Brecker back in the day. Uh, One of my favorite saxophone players these days is Kirk Whalum.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, he's the man. That guy's got deep, deep soul and facility. It's just an amazing player, an amazing person.
Yes, yes. I've talked to him once. As a matter of fact, somewhere soon on my wall, I've got an autographed picture over there of
Nice.
Kurt. Yeah,
yeah. He's the guy you should have on your show, man.
I'm working on it. Trust me, I'm working on it. There are emails out there that we're trying to get a hold of him. Are there any of the young cats? Yes.
By the way, I live in Ann Arbor, and shout out to the local jazz club here, the Blue Llama. An amazing place. And Kenny Garrett was just here a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And Roberta and I went to see him.
Yeah.
And he was off the charts amazing. Just off the charts amazing.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes you go to a club or a concert or whatever, and you're not expecting for that person to blow your doors off. And then like second or third song in, you're like, if the rest of this show is going to be what I just heard, it's great. I got nothing to do. It's just wonderful. So lastly, if we want to follow your career, follow what's going on, how might we do that?
Well, the best way to follow what I do is to go to my YouTube channel, which is called Dr. SaxLove, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And because that's where we publish our music primarily. It all ends up on Spotify and Apple Music and everywhere else, but the YouTube is kind of the center of our marketing emphasis. So that's probably the best way.
Yeah, because this all has changed the way it used to be, as opposed to having the record company and they send out 5 copies and you do an album and they sell the album now. I'm trying to wrap my head around streaming.
Good luck with that, Darrell.
And the thing is, as I talk to more and more musicians, it's probably 80-20 in favor of the old way.
Really?
Oh yeah. There are a lot of people who stream. There are a lot of people who have become what they call independent artists, and I get it.
Yeah.
But I miss those days of that guy walking in, knocking on the door. Here's 25 albums that you can play, that you can do. You keep 5 for the staff, and the other 20 you can give away. I miss that.
Yeah, there was a certain organization to the pipeline.
Yes.
So if you were connected into the pipeline, you knew what was going on.
Right. And people like yourself would call, they'd stop in, there'd be a concert, and you'd go backstage and you'd meet these people and create these great relationships. And now it's like we were talking, everybody's got a firewall. And if you can get past the firewall, it is a wonderful thing. And you have
everybody's got to be their own expert in marketing their own material.
Right. Because now you go from not just the musician, now you got to handle marketing. You have to upgrade your computer skills. There's all this stuff that you now have to learn, as opposed to
media.
I just want to play. That's all I want to do. Okay. That's another conversation that we'll have.
It is another conversation. The old equation of a good musician with great business skills will generally be more successful than a great musician with no business skills.
Right.
I think that's never been more true.
Yes, I get it. Mark, I greatly appreciate this. This was
it's been an honor. I appreciate it, man.
This was a great honor to meet you and talk to you, and I've learned much. And I'll like I said, if you hear a creak at the door and you look up, it's probably me sneaking out of your house because I've stolen your phone.
Hey, if I can ever be of service to you or in any way be of any assistance or help, you let me know, okay?
Just keep putting the music out there. If there's anything that you put out that you want to release or want people to know about, send it to me. We'll put it on all our social media.
I'll do that.
Right now it's Instagram, and my landing page is just about done. All right, sir.
Awesome.
Once again, thank you. We'll be in touch. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening.
It's been a great pleasure, Darrell.
Not a problem. You've been listening to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I hope you enjoy these stories and soulful melodies that grew through the doors of time. If you want to stay connected with the latest updates and episodes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Darrell Scott.